Think Hollywood stars have it all. Fame, fortune. Red carpets, sure. But behind the scenes, some of them are fighting battles more intense than any action movie. From Rocky Balboa to Playboy bombshells, these A-listers are parents to kids with special needs, and their real-life stories will hit you right in the feels with a few laughs along the way. Buckle up. The lights are flashing, the curtains rising, but this show's about real life. Number 1. Eddie Cantor, the comedian who refused to stay silent. He made America laugh during its darkest days, vaudeville, Broadway, radio, Hollywood. But Eddie Cantor's biggest performance wasn't under a spotlight. It was at home as a father rewriting the rules of what love and courage really look like. When his daughter Janet was born with significant hearing loss, the world told him to send her away. "She'll never live a normal life," they said. "It's better for everyone." Eddie didn't just say no. He said absolutely not. While others in his position might have hidden such news to protect a polished image, Eddie embraced Janet's uniqueness publicly and proudly. He and his wife searched far and wide for the best therapies, educators, and tools to help her thrive in a world that wasn't built for her. And when they couldn't find enough resources, Eddie used his fame to create them. He became a powerful voice for the deaf and hard-of-hearing community, raising awareness and funds in an era when most families suffered in silence. Laughter may have been his career, but love was his mission. Behind the song and dance man was a father who believed every child, no matter their challenges, deserved not just care but joy, opportunity, and a voice. Janet didn't just change Eddie's life. She gave him a cause that outlasted every standing ovation. Number 2, Glenn Ford, the gunslinger who fought for his son's future. He was Hollywood's tough guy, quick on the draw, smooth on the screen, a legend in classics like Gilda and Superman. But Glenn Ford's most important battle wasn't against outlaws or villains. It was against a disease that tried to steal his son's future. When Peter Ford was diagnosed with polio as a child, Glenn's world stopped. At a time when polio struck fear into every household, there was no script, no stunt double, no way to shoot a happy ending. But Glenn wasn't about to let fear call the shots. He went public loud, clear, and unwavering. While other stars stayed silent, Ford used his fame to shine a light on the fight against polio. He partnered with medical organizations, rallied for research funding, and urged families to vaccinate, even as misinformation swirled. Because to Glenn, this wasn't politics. It was personal, and it worked. Thanks to efforts like his, the Salk vaccine spread hope across America, giving children like Peter a second chance. Even after Peter's recovery, Glenn kept fighting, donating to hospitals, pushing for better healthcare access, and reminding everyone that being strong isn't about swagger. It's about showing up when it matters most. Number 3. Charlton Heston, the 10 Commandments and One for His Son. He parted the Red Sea on screen, but off-screen, Charlton Heston was fighting a storm no blockbuster could prepare him for. When Heston's son, Fraser Clark Heston, was diagnosed with severe dyslexia, it was a gut punch to the Hollywood legend. In the glitzy world of scripts, dialogue, and fast-paced learning, Fraser couldn't even read a page without a struggle. Back then, dyslexia was misunderstood, labeled laziness or low intelligence. But Heston knew better. "My son isn't broken. The system is." Rather than force Fraser into a mold, Heston tore up the script. He and his wife dove deep into research, seeking out specialized schools and alternative teaching methods. He used his platform, once a pulpit for heroes and gods, to champion awareness about learning disabilities. He didn't care if it was unpopular. He cared about his son. And Fraser, he didn't just overcome, He thrived, becoming a successful filmmaker and writer. All because one father chose to believe in a different kind of greatness. Charlton Heston played Moses, but his most powerful act of leadership, walking beside his son step by difficult, triumphant step. Number 4. Robert Young, father knows best, not when it comes to this. On TV, Robert Young was the perfect dad, calm, wise, always ready with a solution. But in real life, no script could save him from the heartbreak he faced at home. His daughter, Carol Prophet, battled bulimia and severe depression long before mental health was something anyone talked about. In the buttoned-up 1950s, these weren't conditions. They were phases, bad behavior, or worse, ignored. Young watched helplessly as Carol slipped deeper into darkness. He once admitted, "I spent my life solving fictional problems, but real life doesn't come with a rewrite." The pain shattered the illusion. Despite his on-screen wisdom, Young was just a dad, desperate, grieving, lost. Carol's death hit like a freight train, leaving scars that never healed. But Robert Young didn't let her story end in silence. He became an outspoken advocate for mental health, speaking publicly about his own struggles with depression and alcoholism, shattering the stigma for a generation raised to hide their pain. He lent his name, his fame, and his truth to prevention campaigns and mental health initiatives. Behind the suit and smile was a father who knew the weight of loss and chose to turn it into light for others still struggling in the dark. Number 5, Loretta Young, Hollywood glamour, meets a mother's fight. She was the face of Golden Age Hollywood, elegant, divine, untouchable. But Loretta Young's greatest role wasn't in front of the camera. It was behind closed doors, in hospital rooms, in late-night prayers, as a mother fighting for her son's life. Her son, Christopher Lewis, was born with a serious congenital heart condition, the kind that in the 1940s often came with impossible odds. Doctors gave her the look, the one that says, "Prepare for the worst." But Loretta didn't flinch. Off-screen, she was steel-wrapped in satin. She leveraged every connection, every ounce of influence she had, not for fame, but to get her child access to cutting-edge care. And when Christopher survived, she didn't stop there. She became a relentless supporter of children's hospitals, fundraising for life-saving equipment and research at a time when pediatric care was dangerously underfunded. Even when the cameras stopped rolling, Loretta kept pushing. She used her fame to spark conversation about health inclusion and the quiet struggles families face. Her message was clear: every child deserves a fighting chance, no matter their diagnosis or background. Number 6, Roy Rogers and Dale Evans, the cowboy and the angel. They were America's favorite cowboy couple, singing, smiling, and riding into the sunset. But behind the wholesome image of Roy Rogers and Dale Evans was a story that would challenge everything they believed about love, loss, and what it truly means to be parents. In 1950, their daughter Robin was born with Down syndrome. Back then, doctors didn't offer support, they offered separation. Put her in an institution, they said. Forget and move on. But Roy and Dale, they said absolutely not. They brought Robin home. They gave her love, laughter, and a life filled with joy. And when the world told them to hide her, they made her the heart of their family. Robin became their teacher, showing them strength, grace, and a kind of beauty that no movie role could match. Tragically, Robin passed away just shy of her 2nd birthday. The grief could have silenced them. Instead, it ignited them. Dale wrote Angel Unaware, a powerful book that turned their private heartbreak into a national conversation. Together, they became outspoken champions for children with special needs, encouraging parents to embrace, not abandon their children. Roy and Dale kept adopting, kept advocating, and kept spreading a message that still echoes today. Every child is worthy of love. Every child deserves a chance. Number 7. Jane Russell, the bombshell who fought for forgotten children. She was Hollywood's ultimate brunette bombshell, glamorous, witty, unforgettable in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. But Jane Russell's most powerful role wasn't on the big screen. It was in the quiet corners of orphanages, hospitals, and courtrooms fighting for children the world had cast aside. At a time when adoption was rare, and adopting a child with special needs was almost unheard of, Jane went against every norm. She adopted 3 children, including her son Tracy, who battled chronic asthma and developmental challenges. While other stars chased headlines, Jane chased healing. She quickly learned that loving a child with medical needs wasn't just about hugs and hope, it was about advocacy, about battling bureaucracy, outdated systems, and a world that didn't see the worth in children who weren't perfect. And Jane didn't just fight for her own. She created the World Adoption International Fund, a groundbreaking organization that helped thousands of children with disabilities find families. To her, no condition, background, or label could ever make a child less worthy of love. "I didn't rescue them," she once said. "They rescued me." Number 8. Gregory Peck. The real Atticus Finch faced a trial of his own. He was the moral compass of American cinema, forever etched in our hearts as Atticus Finch, the wise and noble father in To Kill a Mockingbird. But for Gregory Peck, life would hand him a test no courtroom speech could conquer. His son Jonathan Peck was brilliant, charismatic, full of promise, a young man drawn to storytelling and journalism. But beneath the surface, he faced invisible struggles, emotional battles that even a father as perceptive as Gregory couldn't always see coming. As a man who played heroes, Gregory was suddenly cast in the role of a helpless father, watching his son wrestle with pressures that offered no script, no easy resolution. In interviews, he spoke of pride, but also quiet heartbreak. Sometimes he admitted love isn't enough to fix everything, but it has to be enough to keep showing up. When tragedy struck, it would have been easy for Peck to retreat. Instead, he stepped forward, turning grief into advocacy. He became deeply involved in mental health awareness and emotional well-being initiatives long before they were part of public discourse. The man who once stood for justice in fiction now stood for compassion in real life, using his voice to push for understanding, empathy, and better care for those silently struggling. Gregory Peck didn't just play great men. He became one through pain, purpose, and a father's unshakable love. Number 9. Burt Lancaster, the tough guy who never backed down from love. On screen, Burt Lancaster was pure steel, a towering figure of grit, charm, and old-school masculinity. But behind that iconic jawline was a man who faced a challenge no Hollywood role could prepare him for: raising a daughter born with a condition that would test every ounce of his strength. His daughter Joanna was born with spina bifida, a serious birth defect affecting the spine and mobility. In an era when disabilities were often hidden away or spoken of in whispers, Lancaster made a bold, almost radical choice. He embraced it publicly and without apology. While Hollywood called, Lancaster was busy studying medical papers, meeting with doctors, and making sure Joanna had the best care modern science could offer. He didn't pass the job off to others. He dove in fiercely, present, fiercely loyal. But he didn't stop at home. Lancaster took that same larger-than-life energy to advocacy, pouring time and money into research, treatment access, and public education. He spoke openly about disability rights before it was fashionable or even safe to do so. Strength isn't about the roles you play. It's about the people you fight for. Number 10. Jackie Robinson, the legend who faced his toughest battle at home. He shattered baseball's color barrier and changed American history with a bat and a brave heart. But for Jackie Robinson, the fight that mattered most wasn't under stadium lights. It was in the quiet moments at home where fame couldn't shield his family from life's harshest blows. His eldest son, Jackie Robinson Jr., grew up carrying the weight of a last name that meant revolution. But that legacy came with pressure, the kind that doesn't show up in highlight reels. After serving in Vietnam, Jackie Jr. returned home battling emotional wounds no one could see and few knew how to treat. Jackie Sr., the icon millions looked up to, now found himself in unfamiliar territory, trying to support a son navigating a world that didn't understand him. And he refused to let that struggle stay invisible. Instead of retreating, Robinson leaned in. He became a passionate advocate for young people facing similar challenges, especially veterans and underserved youth. He championed education opportunity and mental wellness long before it became part of national conversation. For Jackie Robinson, heroism wasn't just about breaking barriers on the field. It was about fighting for dignity, healing, and hope, not just for his son, but for every kid who felt like they didn't have a chance. Number 11. James Stewart, Mr. Smith, went to Washington. But Mr. Stewart stayed home for his son. He was America's everyman, the star of It's a Wonderful Life, the voice of integrity, decency, and heart. But behind the soft-spoken charm of James Stewart was a father carrying a silent burden, one the public rarely saw. His son Ronald was reportedly diagnosed with autism during a time when few even understood what that meant. In the 1950s and 60s, there were no clear treatments, no widespread awareness, only confusion, mislabels, and lonely roadmaps. But Stewart didn't turn away. He turned toward his family. Though known for his cool on-camera presence at home, he was hands-on searching for the best schools, therapies, and specialists while shielding his son from the harsh gaze of a world not yet ready to understand difference. And true to Stewart's character, he did it all without a press conference. Quietly, steadily, he began supporting programs for children with developmental challenges, donating mentoring, helping build a better future for families like his. Not for praise, not for headlines, but because it was right. You don't measure a person by what they can't do, he once said. You measure them by how deeply they love and how much love they inspire. Number 12, Mia Farrow, the actress who built a family of warriors. She starred in Rosemary's Baby, captivated audiences with her haunting beauty, and graced every red carpet from LA to Cannes. But Mia Farrow's greatest story wasn't scripted. It was lived fiercely through the halls of her own home. A home filled with 14 children, many adopted, several with serious medical conditions. While Hollywood whispered and judged, Mia went all in. Not out of charity, out of love. Real, relentless, radical love. Her son Moses was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. Thaddeus, paralyzed from polio, faced unimaginable physical challenges. Others battled trauma, illness, or disabilities the world barely understood. But Mia didn't flinch. She learned every diagnosis, attended every appointment, fought every system that said, "These children can't." She answered, "Watch us." While other celebrities chased headlines, Mia chased wheelchairs through therapy sessions and carried hope in hospital corridors. She personally fed, bathed, and cared for her children, often around the clock, while juggling a demanding career and a public life full of scrutiny. And when tragedy struck, the kind that could silence anyone, she kept going. Not just surviving, but honoring her children's lives through advocacy. Working with UNICEF and international adoption programs, she became a global voice for the voiceless. Number 13, Colin Farrell, from Hollywood. Rebel to real-life hero dad. He was the wild child of Hollywood tattoos, scandals, unforgettable performances, and a reputation that burned brighter than any tabloid headline. But behind the chaos, Colin Farrell was quietly living a role more powerful than any script, being the father of a boy who changed his life forever. His son James was diagnosed with Angelman syndrome, a rare genetic disorder that affects balanced speech and development. For a man used to controlling scenes and commanding attention, this was something he couldn't fix with fame or force. But Colin didn't run. He leaned in hard. He turned his back on the party scene, embraced sobriety, and built a new world around James. He didn't outsource parenting. He showed up to therapy sessions, doctor visits, and every single challenge, no matter how small. And he didn't keep James's condition private. He spoke openly, fiercely, and with heart. If James knew his story could help others, Colin said, he'd say, "Dad, what are you waiting for?" Today, Colin is one of the loudest voices for Angelman awareness, working closely with the FAST Foundation to fund research and bring hope to thousands of families. He doesn't focus on what James can't do. He celebrates what he can with pride, humor, and unshakable love. Number 14, Jenny McCarthy, from centerfold to frontline mom. She was the blonde bombshell who lit up MTV and graced magazine covers across the globe. But Jenny McCarthy's most defining moment didn't come under studio lights. It came in a quiet doctor's office with a diagnosis that shattered her world: autism. Her son Evan was just 2 years old when he began slipping away, losing words, eye contact, and the spark that once lit up every room. Doctors dismissed her concerns, shrugged off her instincts, but Jenny refused to accept silence as an answer. "I believed my son was trapped inside," she said, "and I was going to get him out." What followed was a relentless, emotional, and controversial journey. She dove headfirst into research, questioned everything, tried diets, therapies, and treatments, all while the media watched, judged, and sometimes attacked. But she didn't flinch, because Evan was her mission. Jenny turned her platform into a megaphone, sharing her story in books and interviews that sparked a national conversation about autism awareness, early intervention, and parental intuition. Whether you agreed with her or not, one thing was undeniable: she was in the fight. Number 15, Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, Hollywood royalty, real-life heartbreak. They were the golden couple: Paul Newman, the smoldering, blue-eyed icon of Cool Hand Luke, and Joanne Woodward, the fiercely talented Oscar winner. Together they seemed untouchable: love, fame, family, the perfect Hollywood fairy tale. But behind the glamour was a wound no spotlight could soften. Their son, Scott Newman, struggled in school from an early age. Misunderstood, frustrated, and constantly falling behind, he was eventually diagnosed with dyslexia, a learning difference that few knew how to support back then. Instead of help, Scott often felt judged. Instead of answers, he found escape. Paul, who played calm, commanding fathers on screen, felt powerless in real life. "I could act like the perfect dad," he once said, "but real life doesn't come with cue cards." Watching his son wrestle with inner turmoil tore at him. When tragedy struck, it changed everything. Newman channeled his heartbreak into action. He founded the Scott Newman Center, an organization dedicated to educating youth about healthy choices and helping those who, like Scott, felt lost in a system that didn't understand them. He also became a major advocate for children with learning disabilities, pushing for programs that offered support, not shame. Number 16, Neil Young, the rock legend who found his true voice at home. He's a rock and roll rebel, the raspy voice behind Heart of Gold and Old Man, an icon who marched to the beat of his own guitar. But Neil Young's most powerful songs weren't written for fans or fame. They were born from the quiet heartbreak and fierce love of fatherhood. Both of Young's sons, Zeke and Ben, were diagnosed with cerebral palsy, a condition that affects movement and muscle coordination. For a man who lived for the stage, the studio, and the road, this was a different rhythm, a slower, harder, more personal one. But Neil didn't run. He leaned in. "I didn't know what to do," he once said. "So I did what I knew. I made music." And in those lyrics, he poured out the love, the confusion, the fight. His songs became lullabies for children the world didn't always understand, and anthems for parents walking the same uncharted road. But he didn't stop there. In 1986, Neil co-founded the Bridge School, a revolutionary institution for children with severe speech and physical impairments. With annual benefit concerts featuring the biggest names in music, Neil turned melodies into millions, funding education, technology, and independence for kids like his sons. And when Ben, unable to walk or speak, wanted to drive, Neil built him a voice-controlled electric car. Number 17. Toni Braxton, the ballad that changed her forever. She sang the heartbreak anthem of a generation, "Unbreak My Heart." But nothing could have prepared Toni Braxton for the real-life heartbreak that would reshape everything she thought she knew. At the peak of her Grammy-winning career, Toni received news that would bring any superstar to her knees. Her young son Diesel had been diagnosed with autism. At first, she blamed herself. "What did I do wrong?" she asked through tears. "Did I miss something? Could I have changed the outcome?" Guilt, fear, and a million unanswered questions followed. But Toni didn't stay in that place for long. Instead of surrendering, she suited up for the fight of her life, not against a diagnosis, but against doubt. She immersed herself in research, connected with doctors, and tried every therapy that offered hope. She became a loud, fearless advocate, not just for Diesel, but for every parent drowning in confusion and silence. Her voice, once used to sing soul-stirring ballads, now echoed in autism awareness campaigns, parent groups, and national platforms. And then a breakthrough. Years of therapy, progress, and perseverance led to something she once didn't dare dream: Diesel being declared off the autism spectrum. Number 18. John Travolta and Kelly Preston, a star's brightest light, lost too soon. They were Hollywood royalty: John Travolta, the charming heartthrob of Grease and Pulp Fiction, and Kelly Preston, the radiant actress with a heart as warm as her smile. Together, they lived a life of red carpets and rare love. But their greatest role and deepest heartbreak came as parents. Their son, Jet Travolta, was diagnosed with autism and also lived with Kawasaki disease, a rare inflammatory condition. From the start, John and Kelly shielded him from public scrutiny, choosing privacy over press protection, over publicity. But behind the glamour was a family navigating sleepless nights, complex therapies, and the quiet ache of worry that never fades. Then came the unthinkable. While vacationing in the Bahamas, Jet suffered a fatal seizure. He was only 16. The world mourned. But for John, time seemed to stop. "Life was never the same after Jet," he later said, and for a long while he disappeared from the spotlight. Number 19. Sylvester Stallone. Rocky's toughest fight wasn't in the ring. He's the ultimate underdog. Rocky Balboa, the fighter who went the distance and became a symbol of grit, heart, and determination. But Sylvester Stallone's fiercest battle didn't play out in a boxing ring. It unfolded quietly, far from the cameras, in the private moments of fatherhood. His son, Sergio Stallone, was diagnosed with autism at just 3 years old. While his older brother Sage followed in their father's Hollywood footsteps, Sergio struggled with speech delays, social connection, and developmental challenges. For Stallone, it was a punch he never saw coming. "I knew Sergio had a long road ahead," he said. but I wanted to be there every step of the way. At the height of his career with Rocky Rambo and international fame calling Stallone did something few celebrities dared, he slowed down. He and his then-wife Sasha turned their focus toward understanding autism, becoming early advocates when awareness was scarce. He didn't just write checks. He showed up sitting in therapy sessions, learning alongside his son, and refusing to let a diagnosis define their bond. Eventually, the Stallones established a fund for autism research, determined to turn their family's challenge into a mission that could help others. Number 20. David and Victoria Beckham, the power couple versus the flashbulb fight. They're global icons, he the football legend with a golden right foot, she the fashion mogul and former pop superstar. Together, David and Victoria Beckham built an empire. But behind the designer suits and stadium cheers was a quiet battle, one they never expected to fight. Their son Romeo was diagnosed with epilepsy. For years, the Beckhams kept it private. They didn't want pity or press, just peace. But that changed in 2006 when paparazzi swarmed them at an airport, snapping flash photos without mercy. Victoria snapped back, furious and afraid. "He's got epilepsy," she shouted. Those flashes could hurt him. In that moment, the world learned what the Beckhams had carried in silence, that their son's health was at risk every time a camera clicked. From then on, the family tightened their circle, fiercely